Hello and welcome to the show. I am Joe Tophat. Ghostbusters 2 has never been as popular as the first. That's not to say it doesn't have its fans. Generally speaking, fans either think the movie is okay or just as good as the original. There are fans who hate it, of course, but most seem to like it. Since 2016 Ghostbusters came out, Ghostbusters 2 has received more appreciation. Although the movie has never been seen as a bad sequel, few would say it's better than the original. I am one of the few people who thinks Ghostbusters 2 is better than the first. For a long time, I've been wanting to make a video explaining why I feel this way. With the release of Ghostbusters Afterlife, now seems as good a time as any. Before I explain why I feel this way, I want to start off by saying I saw this movie more than the first when I was a kid. In fact, I seen it before the first. This isn't news to anyone who regularly watches my videos, but I want to be upfront with the people who don't. Some may think I'm blinded by nostalgia. I assure you that's not the case. I'll even share a couple of problems I have with it. To keep things simple, I broke it down to 5 reasons why Ghostbusters 2 is better than the first. Let's begin. Reason 1. Vigo is a more memorable villain. The first movie talks a great deal about Gozer, yet he's barely in it. When he finally does show up, he just zaps the guys for not being gods, jumps away and becomes Stay Puft. Don't get me wrong, Gozer is a good villain. He is very powerful, and I like how he can be anything he wants, even a woman. It's just that I never found him all that interesting. His design is pretty good, but I always preferred Slimer and Stay Puft. In fact, compared to the ghost from the cartoon, Gozer's design is kind of bland. Vigo, on the other hand, is far more interesting. Unlike Gozer, Vigo is directly involved in the story from the beginning. When we first meet him, he's just a painting the museum acquired some time ago. There doesn't seem to be anything weird about it, until he pokes his head to look at Janosch, as if he knows he could use him for his plans. Vigo isn't just out to destroy, he wants to rule the world. But in order to do that, he needs to take possession of a child's body to live again. That's where Oscar comes in. That's kind of creepy that he needs to possess a child, especially a little baby. Vigo shows his resourcefulness by creating a backup plan involving Ray. When Ray examines him at the museum, Vigo just subtly takes possession of him, though not fully. As he was being defeated by the Ghostbusters and the regular folks, Vigo used Ray to try to gain the upper hand. We never see Gozer think ahead like that. I also like Vigo's design a little more than Gozer's. I can't really put my finger on it, but I always found Vigo's design a little more intimidating. Max von Sydow's voice adds to that. He sounds like somebody you don't want to mess with. Throughout the movie, we see Vigo remain in the painting. We only see his floating head when he's talking to Janosch. When he finally comes out of the painting, you know that means trouble. Now don't misunderstand me. I like Gozer as a villain and I think he works fine in the first movie. It's just that Vigo's a little better. Reason 2. Winston has more to do. It's no secret that Winston has always been my favorite character. I always related to him more than the others because he was just an average guy. He's not a scientist, nor does he seem to care about the supernatural at first. He just wants a job with a steady paycheck. Winston has a lot of memorable quotes in the first movie. However, as good as he is often treated like he doesn't exist. Part of this is due to the fact that he doesn't show up until 40 minutes in the movie. Winston was originally supposed to be with the Ghostbusters when they busted Slimer, but for whatever reason that changed. To add insult to injury, he's not even included in the poster. For the second movie, not only is Winston included in the poster, he and Ray are the first Ghostbusters we see. I like how we get to see that Winston kept in touch with Ray at least when the Ghostbusters went out of business. Well, he kinda disappears until after the Scoleri brothers scene. When he does show up, Winston remains pretty active in the group, thus giving him more memorable scenes. Since it will take too long to list out all of his scenes, I'm going to point out my favorites, the first being the birthday party scene. I love how Ray and Winston try their best to entertain the kids who really don't want them there. They also get insulted by the future Ghostbusters Afterlife director Jason Reitman. Ray tries to remain optimistic, but Winston's like, I'm sick of this shit. Then there's the scene where he, Egon, and Ray were in the sewer. I always quote the part where Ray talks about the rats with my siblings. And finally, when they were explaining to the mayor what's going on, while the others were using technical jargon, Winston explained it in a way the mayor would understand. Ghostbusters 2 always felt like it gave more appreciation for Winston. As a fan of the character, I think that's a good thing. Reason 3. It's scarier than the first. It drives me crazy when people say that Ghostbusters 2 is too kid-friendly. Just take a look at this image of Egon, Ray, and Winston in the sewer. How is this kid-friendly? Ghostbusters 2 is full of unsettling moments. While the first movie definitely had its share of scary moments, I always found the second movie to be the scarier movie. Part of it is due to how each moment is set up. The best example I can think of is the bathtub scene. In this scene, we see Dana get Oscar ready for a bath. It's actually a sweet moment between a mother and her baby. Then pink slime began to fill the bathtub, and it tries to take Oscar. The fact that the slime was trying to take a helpless baby is unnerving. There are plenty of other scares, like the river of slime reaching for Ray, Janosch as a nanny ghost kidnapping Oscar, Ray and Egon locked in a room during the fire, and of course, the severed heads. The scariest moment is when the guys took a swim in the river of slime. When Ray and Winston get out, they start to argue and a fight breaks out. Afterwards, Winston is horrified by the fact that he was ready to kill Ray. Ray is just as horrified as he realizes just what the slime can do. The Ghostbusters often had disagreements in the first movie, but they never reached a point where they could kill each other. I always got the vibe that Ray and Winston are pretty close. The fact that the slime can do that to close friends is unsettling. Reason 4. The slime blowers. The slime blowers are an interesting addition to the Ghostbusters equipment. Throughout the movie, the Ghostbusters have to deal with slime that feeds off anger and hatred. We've seen what taking a swim in it can do to a person, yet Ray and Egon found a way to use it for good. Well, not in the movie for very long. The slime blowers proved to be a great weapon against Vigo. It's sort of ironic that they used his own slime against him. The slime blowers would have been useful when Dana and Lewis were possessed in the first movie. The video game even found a way to incorporate them in the proton packs. I just hope they're in Afterlife. Reason 5. Its message. Ghostbusters 2 is basically about how anger and hatred can have a negative effect on our world. The river of slime was created by us. It wouldn't have existed without our help. The Ghostbusters tried to bring this to the mayor's attention, but he just blows them off. When they threaten to go to the press, Jack Hardemeyer, the mayor's assistant, has them committed in order to silence them. This sounds a lot like what's been going on today. Now, I know that just because a movie has a good message doesn't mean that the movie itself is good. How it's executed plays a crucial role. Ghostbusters 2 handles it very well, and it feels just as relevant today as it did in 1989. Maybe even more so. Now that I've told you my reasons why I think Ghostbusters 2 is better than the first, I'll now share with you my 2 problems I have with it. Problem 1. Why was Peter arrested? There was a scene where Egon, Ray, and Winston entered a fancy restaurant in their long underwear. This leads to them getting arrested. In this screenshot, you can see that the police aren't arresting Peter. Why would they? He hasn't done anything wrong. Later, we see Peter with the guys at the mayor's office. At first, I thought he just joined the guys so he can talk to the mayor. Then there's that scene where Lewis asked, "Where's Peter?" Dana replies, "He was arrested." This never made sense. He didn't do anything wrong. When Peter, Ray, and Egon were put on trial for digging a hole in the middle of First Avenue, Winston wasn't on trial because he didn't take part. Why would the police take in Peter if he hadn't walked in the fancy restaurant in his long underwear? Was there a deleted scene I'm not aware of? Or did Dana believe it was easier to say that than to explain what happened? I think it would have been better if Dana said something like, "He ran off with the boys." It would have been more accurate with what happened, and Janine's response would have fit. Problem 2. The relationship between Lewis and Janine. Even though both movies place a lot of emphasis on Dana and Peter's relationship, the relationship between Egon and Janine is the one everyone loves. The first movie makes it obvious there's something between them. This is further explored in the cartoon. The two of them share a lot of cute moments. While the cartoon never came out and said they're boyfriend and girlfriend, it's obvious there's something going on. As much as fans love this pairing, Harold Ramis didn't. He felt Egon shouldn't have a love interest, so he came up with the idea of pairing Janine with Lewis. This was perhaps the dumbest idea he came up with. I admit that as a kid I never really cared about who Janine hooked up with because I didn't care about relationships. I only cared about busting ghosts. Now that I'm an adult, I can see why the Janine Lewis pairing is bad. The biggest problem is that it comes out of nowhere. Janine barely interacts with Lewis in either movie. The first movie came out in 1984, and the cartoon came out in 1986. Both made it clear that Janine Egon is a Fang. Then the second movie just changes it for no good reason. The only indication we're given that Lewis likes her is that scene where he invites her to eat with him. Only for Janine to invite him to babysit with her. To be fair, there are deleted scenes that explore the relationship more. It wouldn't have changed anyone's mind who hates this pairing, but it would have at least gave it more of a setup. The IDW comics treated the pairing as a brief fling, which is for the best. Not sure how the new movie's going to treat it. As much as I love Harold Ramis, he really underestimated how much people loved the Egon Janine pairing. And that's why Ghostbusters 2 is better than the first. Many of you probably disagree with this view, and that's fine. Just be civil about it. Otherwise, we might create a river of slime. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments section what you guys think, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later.